All right, and we are live. Uh, G'day, guys, and welcome to another edition of Malts with Mates, where we've got someone special from the Whiskey Interview twice weekly. Today, I'm joined with Daithi O'Connell of WD'Connell Whiskey Merchants. Daithi, how you doing, mate?
Hey Marcus, how's it going? I'm good, thanks. You?
Yeah, I'm good. I had a harrowing experience at the airport, but I'm back. I'm done. I don't need to go to the airport for a while, so I'm all good. I'm all good.
Yeah, they're constantly trying to keep Australians and Antipodeans out of the European sector, aren't they?
I mean, Europe doesn't really care if I go in or go out. It's mainly the UK. I'm gonna edit that part out, by the way, because I don't want anyone watching this barring me from entering again, because that would suck.
I
Anyway,
think that's
what are you drinking today, mate?
part of politics, isn't it?
It's yeah, but the Commonwealth kind of means jack shit at this point in time. We have the Commonwealth Games, and that's about it. We all speak the same language. No, we don't. We don't all speak the same language. With the Commonwealth Games, that is everything that being part of the Commonwealth gets you. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, there's not many benefits these days.
No, no. Hopefully one day. Hopefully one day. So, what are you drinking today? The first and most important question.
In my glass now, I literally just cracked this open before we started. I have a Mitcher's Sour Mash that Colm in Celtic Whiskey Shop sold me earlier in the week. He highly recommended it, and I have to say it's 43%, and it's delicious. Like drying on
That's
the
a
mouth,
great.
but really tasty. Great nose, super color. Look at that.
Oh, bloody fantastic color on it.
No, it's great.
We do want to see more from them. Now, I want to dive into the big stuff first, so we get that out of the way, because I read a couple of articles about you and about where you're from, and you have such an interesting story. You started in hospitality, you've been a barman, a bar owner, you worked in a concrete plant, you trained as a pilot, you lived in multiple countries, you're founder of multiple businesses. Now you've founded an Irish independent bottler. Two questions there. Firstly, can you walk us through your story? And secondly, do you sleep, or are you just fueled by sheer passion and ambition of whiskey? Like that's so much to accomplish.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. It sounds like a lot there when you pack it into to 30 seconds snippet, but I guess if you pack it into 25 years, it's not so much. um, yeah. So like, do I sleep? I used to be much more of a workaholic. I would say maybe 5 years ago, up to 5 years ago, I was a complete lunatic when it came to work. Um, and I, I kind of came to a breaking point essentially. So I had to learn to kick back, and I did that. Moved down to West Cork after moving back from Hong Kong and Dubai, and moved down to West Cork with my partner Alina, and we chilled out down there, just the two of us looking out at the Fastnet Rock, and while the time away, sipping on whiskey and planning the launch of this whiskey business, then kind of came about as of the move down there, because I kind of had decided that I wanted to open a distillery some years back, and I'd done a lot of work and spent a considerable amount of money up to a certain point of pre-opening essentially, and kind of had decided that was done. I'm going to get a job somewhere and get someone else to pay me for a change, and I'll get a pension, and I'll check in and check out, and of course I can't do that. So I find it impossible. Walking to the beat of somebody else's drum is a bit difficult for me. So I think we just decided, Alina's blessing, and we had our first child, and now or never really. So just decided to go hell for leather. So we're just over a year into the journey now, and pretty excited. It's gone pretty well so far, and we've got some pretty cool plans for the next few years. So we're pretty excited.
That sounds fantastic. I guess you did mention that you were wanting to build the distillery. why move into independent bottling as opposed to the distillery? What was the choice there?
Money. Money, but also, but but also the scene had changed. If you go back to 2014 when I started looking at the distillery, or 2013 and 2014 when I really advanced it, Teelings were just about to open. So, there was Dingle, Cork, West Cork, Middleton, Bushmills, and Teelings. The plan was to be next, and or very close. Definitely the sixth or seventh, definitely in the first 10 anyway. Let's say for argument's sake. And obviously nowadays we have, I think we're at 31 fully operational with distilling whiskey, and plans for maybe a dozen more, and that changed the whole landscape. So the opportunity to become an independent bottler, it seems like an obvious one, because we'll have so many different varieties of spirit on the market ready to mature. And with that, then there's the cash side of things that I mentioned. It's a lot cheaper to get. It's still not cheap, but it's a lot cheaper to get moving. And it's a little more niche now. There's probably there's less independent bottlers than distillery owners at this stage.
No, I completely understand that. And of course, when starting that, did you source knowledge from any other independent bottlers? I realize at that point in time, you would have primarily had to go to Scotland. There are a few in Ireland, but Scotland are much more prevalent. Did you speak to them at first, or was this really a deep dive for yourself into independent bottling?
No, I didn't speak to anybody. I did my research, drank a lot of whiskey, but I just decided to just go at it myself, really. Like, I've talked to some industry people since then, but very, very little, a little bit of advice here and there, but essentially it was just straight off the deep end and see what happens.
Nice. No, I do enjoy that. And of course, you mentioned earlier, so you've got your first bottling out, and you've got what, 2, 3, 4 bottlings out at the moment. I've lost track of all Irish whiskey, but your first was the Bill Phil.
Yeah, so the Bill Phil single cask was launched after Whiskey Live, and 306 bottles, and we also launched PX17, at the same time, 370 bottles. That's a 17-year-old single malt, and the other one's a peated triple distilled single malt, the other one being double distilled from Cooley, and the triple distilled come from Great Northern. And since then, we launched the batch 1, which confused a lot of people, of the Bill Phil, which was a single cask for me is pretty self-explanatory. It's 1 cask. A batch then is 2 or more for me. So that's how we'll apply it to to our operation. I guess everyone's different. So batch 1 we launched then on the Friday the 13th of March, in the middle of COVID, and it's went well, been well received. Obviously, Ireland's not known for peated whiskey. Since we launched, we've got a few others after entering the marketplace too, with either peated finishes or peated style on it, and our peated blend. And of course, we have the famous one down from East Cork with the peat influence on it, which is a year's wages for a lot of people, 2 years for some. And we have 2 new releases coming up in August. So,
well, we'll currently certainly keep an eye out for that. And of course, the big thing about that. Nice. And a big thing about that as well is the peated whiskey. I want to ask you, was that a decision to release peated whiskey because this is something you thought Ireland was lacking? You want to find something different, or is this something that you just love peat?
Yeah, a bit of both. I actually really didn't. I was like most people, I think, especially most Irish people, I find. I didn't like peat. That was the blanket statement until I moved to Hong Kong. and my eyes were opened up to this whole world of top shelf, fantastic whiskies everywhere. And a good guy from Diageo used to bring me to a lot of their tasting events and that, because I had a bar over there with some mates, and blew my mind, the whiskies that were available, and really showed, you know, as proud an Irishman as I am, that we were really certainly lagging behind the Scots when it came to whiskey production at that time. And Pete just has, so, you know, it just gives it a whole other level and a whole other layer onto the complexities of whiskies. Some of them I definitely still don't like, but I find it just gives more variety and more interesting bits and pieces we can do with it as well. You know, if you're blending, you can add just a hint of peat. You know, and I'm not a blending expert by any chance. I still haven't released anything that's a blend, but I do mess around, and just a hint of peat gets you that extra length in the finish, you know. But you probably won't notice it's there for most people. So, and then the second thing is, if Irish whiskey is going to be taken seriously, and if it wants to take on Scottish whiskey, then we need to not just go at them with, you know, blends and with single malt, straight single malt, say, and pot still, and think we're going to convert the whole world to pot still whiskey, because it's, you know, it's not for everybody either. Much like peat is not for everybody, and I think, you know, we need a peated sector, and that was kind of where it came from, really, as well. I just thought there was an opportunity there to take a step, a foray into peated single malts, and I hope to make them a staple in our portfolio, I guess, and hopefully do some interesting things with them in relation to some other whiskies too. So let's see what happens.
By the way, I had my partner come in and need to turn on the answer machine, so I was trying to not have someone just walk through this shop because it's behind the chair. But no, I love that, and certainly as a first release, Bill Phil was a bloody fantastic whiskey, and I recall that I wrote a review in which I described it saying, like, it feels like it picks up Ardbeg and shakes it down for its lunch money, which is still my opinion of the Bill Phil. It's cracking. I only remembered I had written that and posted it the morning after, where I was talking to a mate in Australia, and I said, I think I wrote a review last night. Read it, and I smelt my glass, and I thought, yeah, that's exactly what it is. And I guess, why do you think that, as an industry, why do you think Ireland tends to shy away from the peat and hold the single pot still up as the holy grail? Is because I've often felt that. Is that something you've seen?
Yeah, well, look, I don't know, like, we were well known for we make great single malt, I think, as well. You know, that's proven. We just don't have a lot of variety of it. Single pot still, that was, I suppose, look, it was the Dublin pot still at the time, really, and that was the long before single malt became popular. That was the popular go-to drink, you know. It was up there, I suppose, that and cognac, and it is quintessentially Irish, that it was developed here, to use the mixed mash bill of the malted and unmalted barley. So yeah, there's no doubt that is, it's probably poteen in itself, really, are the two that originated here. I suppose Aquavita before that, of course. So we'll take the claim to that as well. But I don't think the modern whiskey maker is going to shy away from it. The multinationals might have shied away from it in the past. You know, the Teeling family, that Cooley certainly didn't shy away from it with Connemara, which is still there and under Beam Suntory's stable now. And I think the future of peat is going to be pretty bright from Ireland. I think people are going to be surprised. You know, you've got a great blend coming out of the Dark Silky Slieve League with James Doherty, and a really fantastic price point as well. You got Killowen doing a peated cask, and Dunville's doing a peated cask, and West Cork do a peated cask, and I'm not sure, but I think there's a distillery up the west coast. I think Connacht, I could get shot for this, I'm not sure, are doing a lot of peated whiskey, laying it down. Graham Cool is over down in Dingle laying it down. And I'm sure there are more who we don't know about. And Teelings are just after bringing theirs out, or about to bring it out. I think there's going to be a lot of peat. I think it's going to play a very big role. I can't have been the only person who saw that gap and said, like, I didn't distill it, so obviously somebody else saw that gap at Great Northern several years before. So it's just obvious that, yeah, if we want to compete, we need to have all the range of weapons in our arsenal to take on Scottish whiskey makers.
Okay, and we do have a question from this is Dennis, a Dutchman who absolutely adores Irish whiskey and everything about it. I know he'd be a big fan of yours. He's asked, isn't it difficult to source whiskey for independent bottlings and be different? He was super amazed at the difference in your whiskey. Now, I know that's a loaded question there, but we are kind of curious.
Is it difficult? If you have money, it's not. So, if I had lots more money, it'd be a lot easier, that's for sure. I think it's after getting much easier. I think people who have come before me found it a little more difficult. Between the years of Cooley going into Beam Suntory, I'd say probably 11 or 12 when they shut down that supply line. Was probably a big gap, and then obviously Great Northern have turned around since then. And now we have, as I said, we have got 30 plus distilleries, and some of them are making very small amounts, but some are I think some are going to be supplying and are willing to supply or contracted still as well. So it's going to get easier. It might have been difficult, but it's not very difficult now, Dennis. So in terms of how to be different, I can't answer that question without probably putting my foot in it. But it's like the peated question. I think you're going to see a lot of variety. We're already seeing variety. Look at the Curragh. Look at what Brendan is doing in Cologne with his bonded experimental stuff. Look what JJ Corrie are doing. Plenty of differentiators out there now. Long gone are the days of triple distilled, smooth 3 years in a day Irish whiskey.
I mean, when I lived in Ireland, something that almost everyone told me was the absolute worst descriptor for a whiskey was smooth. Firstly, because there's one particular Irish whiskey that has kind of taken the market on smooth, but it's such a non-descript descriptor. Oh, it's a smooth whiskey. Well, what does it taste like? How does it feel? Oh, it's smooth. That tells me nothing. So what do you kind of think about that with the the romanticizing that we do have around whiskey nowadays?
Well, look, the victors write the history, don't they? So it's, what do I think of it? Well, my brand. My brand is our brand ethos and our brand image and everything is I have it written down. We're not diddly eye Irish, So I guess I'm probably the wrong person to ask about the smooth thing. But smooth is relevant to tasting wines or spirits. It's probably just overused and taken the wrong way. So it is an actual definition. If you're doing your WSETs, etc. Yeah, look, I get myself in trouble if I keep drinking and keep talking about things like that. But look, that's the story that was peddled for a long time. The 3 years in a day, always triple distilled, never peated, always smooth. That's Irish whiskey. Those days are long gone.
We hope they are long gone because, you do read things when people say it's Irish whiskey is by law triple distilled and matured for 3 years in a day, and it's like, I don't know where you've read that or you've heard it somewhere, and whoever told that to you really needs to sit down and just be taught proper Irish whiskey. It's a funny thing how we've made all this misinformation about the industry, and now it's out there and it seems difficult to stop. That's just my opinion, but I'm a pessimist about that.
Good observation, and it's held. That observation is has been commented on by a lot of industry that I would speak to also. So it's something we're going to have to work hard to change, really, because it's too one dimensional. It's too narrow. They've got blinkers on, and it's not. We don't just make shop whiskey.
No, that's true. And I guess you mentioned earlier, Kurak, JJ Corey, Killowen, all these guys who were doing stuff with whiskey that, Jesus, for a long time people were saying everything that you could do with a cask has been done. And these three guys have come along and said, no, we're going to go in this completely new direction. I want to ask from there, what are you excited about in Irish whiskey? And is there anything that other people are doing that you've looked at and you've gone, I wish I thought of that, or I'm definitely going to see if I can maybe get a cask?
Every day I think that. Such is the rate of new releases coming out, and the rate they sell at too is ridiculous. Congratulations to Irish Malts and JJ Corey, by the way, on their 2-year-old Rebel 200 bottles selling out in half a day today. And happy birthday to Irish Malts also. Yeah, look, I think I named some of the guys that you keep an eye on. I think it'd be interesting to see what Brendan comes out with. I've tasted some of his new make spirit that he's distilling himself in his Willy Wonka style distillery in County Down, and I think Graham Cool will bring a bit of an exciting element into Dingle. That should be interesting. I think what the Cork did has been pretty good. Like their vodka the Killac vodka is amazing actually for vodka. JJ Corey do really interesting things as well. What's happening in Waterford is interesting. I love him or hate him, and I'm sure there's so many like that are out there. I'm pretty excited what we're going to do. The next releases are pretty cool. We're going on a journey, and people are going to get to join the journey with us, and you get to see what bonders and bottlers did in the past with their casks and that. So everything is linked, if you follow me. So nothing just appears out of nowhere. There's always it's always come along in a step and part of a journey, and that will continue to do that. And hopefully then with the future plans that other people will be as excited as I am. I'm a whiskey fan, so I'm going to produce whiskey that keeps people interested and that people like to sip on and tell people that they have a bottle of.
No, I mean, I only think people will, because you make great stuff. If anyone is watching this and they've not tasted Daithi's whiskey, you really should. It's all amazing. It's all really well priced as well. I know that's not an issue for some, but I'm a stickler because I'm very cheap and poor. So when I see a bottle of whiskey like yours and I see it's aged well, you've got interesting casks and styles, and the pricing is super affordable, and then I try it, I'm like, I would happily pay like double the price for something like that. So
noted.
I'm sure everyone will be having it. Please don't double the price. To anyone who's watching, please do not double the price, because I say that, but I don't have that amount of money.
Yeah, no, we're not down at the lower price. We're probably in the higher price range as well. For somebody who doesn't, for some people, that's just the way it's going to be. But for me to make whiskey and make a living from it, I'm not going to be selling millions of bottles. So I can't work off tiny margins, and I have to work off a decent margin. And that margin is probably reflected across all the people involved on the process. We're probably all making around the same money, so it's nobody's getting rich on it. It's a family business, and I think I tried to keep the price down, but then there's an element of, obviously here we got excise duty and massive overheads, and we do such small quantities, everything is more expensive. So it's probably the 60, 65, 70 is probably where most of the standard non-age statement releases will come in. And then you'll have, the 17-year-old, obviously PX that was limited and was a one-off. There's no more 17-year-old PX from O'Connell whiskey. That's obviously in the higher price point at about 160, but they're pretty exclusive whiskies, and they've been aged for a long time, and they're not cheap to acquire. So we have the price. I feel the price reflects it, and yeah. Sorry, that's the plan with the pricing, but I guess will we ever get down lower? No. We'll have pot still coming out. We're gonna have maybe a blend, but the blend won't be anytime this year. So hopefully you'll see some pot still maybe towards the end of the year.
I mean, I didn't intend to get that answer out of you, but I'm very happy that we did. That's bloody fantastic to hear. And as well, given that you're drinking a Michter's right now, would you consider in the future branching out to whiskey from other countries or other spirits, or do you want to stick as a Irish independent bottler?
Yeah, first and foremost, we're an Irish whiskey company, but the plan is, and I don't hide from it, is that I do plan on sourcing whiskey from all around the globe. If you're listening, some of you know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about you, yes, Andy. And look, Caden Heads and Gordon MacPhail and a lot of the Scottish guys do it, and there's some fantastic new world whiskies being made. I try to buy whiskey from as broad a range of places as I can to look at the flavor profiles, and it's amazing what's out there about the quality. Of course, I want to promote Irish whiskey first and foremost. But I'm interested in all drinks, whether it is whiskey, whether it's beer or wines or any spirits and whiskey. Whiskey is obviously the one I'm most passionate about, though. And will I get into? Have I plans to get into gin or vodka? Yes, no. Will I? I can't ever say definitively not. Unlikely, I would say. I would say whiskey is where it'll stay, but global whiskey, I think it'd be pretty cool. An O'Connell's bourbon or an O'Connell's South African whiskey or an O'Connell's Scotch, or I think, or cognac. Who knows? Big fan of cognac.
I'm a cognac fan, and you've dropped a lot of hints there. And if Andy is watching, Andy, you know how much I love your stuff. You know how much I love Daithi stuff. If he was to get some from you, I could only encourage you to give him a cask, like bequeath it to him as well, like fly over with it and properly do like a handover, a little ceremony as well. That'd be fascinating. It took me a few seconds. It's when you said the name that I got it, but when you were saying some people know, I was like, am I meant to know? Shit, feels like I'm meant to know.
He just doesn't realize he's doing it, but he's going to do it.
I think what you need to do is you need to sit down with him when we all can. You need to sit down with him, have a couple of drinks with him, and a couple more, and then just encourage him to sign or to hand over a cask or something. A gentleman's agreement made over drinks. That's how the world was run for centuries, and nothing bad ever happened.
Nothing bad.
Nothing. No, nothing bad. Nothing bad. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. And speaking of whiskey as well, are you? I was going to say, are you finished with your Michter's?
I can put it aside.
I was going to say, because I'm quite happy about this. For those who watched the Malts with Mates with Andy from Maltbox, we did that here, and Daithi has lined up 6 different whiskies, and I'm going to roll a 6-sided dice to decide which one he pours for himself, and I really hope it's one. So right now, the choices are, we got Baines, JJ Crow Battalion, Kilo and Peter Cask, Dumville's PX cask strength. Glenfarclas was 12, and Puni from Italy. So I'm hoping either a 1 or a 6.
Yeah.
It was a 3. It's like the median. So your next pour is kilo and peated cask, I guess.
Ah, super. So yeah, this is a sample bottle that I received from the Bowel Brendan Carty, and it's for anyone who doesn't know about it. It was I think it's sold out, or maybe it's not. I could be open to correction. But it's part of Brendan's 10-year bonded experimental series, so it's all the same base spirit that's gone into different casks for finishing. And this one went into an Islay peated cask, and it's bottled always a cask strength 55.4% on this occasion, and I believe limited to just under 400 bottles. So let's see how it goes.
Well, we've got Suzanne from Irish Drams has just commented saying that the Killowen is lovely, and I do trust Suzanne when she talks about whiskey. She is. If you've not read her website, you should. If you've not sent her samples, you should do that too. Send me some. Well, no. So
I never make any money if I send samples to everybody who now has a blog or a vlog. COVID has been responsible for a lot more vlogs and blogs than anyone ever would have anticipated.
I guess that's a great question. Because I remember like 10 years ago, I was first getting into whiskey, and I remember reading blogs, and there were like, I think maybe 5 at that time. Nowadays, if you search whiskey blog, much like my own, somewhiskeyblog.com, you will find, that was a plug, thank you. You will find just a plethora of blogs coming up. How do you see this huge kind of like slew, this blizzard of whiskey bloggers? Because some of them are fantastic. Some of them are shit. I'm not going to name any names in any category. So, I mean, some people just don't seem to have a niche. Some people don't have a feel for it. Some people are like doing the weirdest shit in the world. And how do you feel about these as a independent bottler, as a producer of whiskey? How do you feel about the blog scene?
I think it's great. I think anything that
the most diplomat. That was the best answer. The most diplomatic answer.
No, I do. Look, it's healthy for the industry. It's a sure sign that there's a huge interest in the industry, and that can only be a good thing. And look, everybody's entitled to their opinion, and they're, whether they like something or don't like it. And I'm open to criticism from anybody if it comes in. It's at the end of the day, I can't make you like my whiskies, and I think you have to be willing to put up with that if you're in this industry too. You have to be able to take the good with the bad. It's great to get people to blow smoke up your, and
you can swear on your show. You can swear as much as you like. I don't care. It's all fine.
But at the end of the day, we don't know. It's very hard for us the industry professionals, I suppose, to understand. Not including myself as a professional, by the way. To understand the return on those blogs and blogs. Who's that person talking to? Is it an echo chamber? Social media is very much an echo chamber in every sphere. It's political, whiskey is no different, sports, whatever it is you want. You can surround yourself with your own voice coming back at you repeatedly. So, look. Ultimately, the more people that are interested in it, the better. I think we've seen since COVID, the virtual tastings really have gone bananas, through the roof, busy. And at the start, it was the same people. But I think as we've seen them progress, we're seeing a lot of new voices on the social scene anyway, entering the whiskey scene and being braver, probably more comfortable speaking about whiskey. And I think, to be fair, most people in the community for the majority anyway that I've seen, are very pleasant, and they are very accommodating to new people on the scene, and try and give advice on that. So I don't think it's a place where you should be ever afraid to speak up and say you taste whatever. Like, I've heard some funny ones, but whatever it is you taste, whatever it reminds you of, put it out there, you know. And if you don't have any of these crazy vocabularies at hand, you can just say, I really like that, or I'm not too fond of that, or I don't like it, and just enjoy it. You don't have to worry about trying to write a few tasting notes for the Irish Times or something, you know.
You don't need to say that it tastes like tonguing a mint dryad in a watermelon forest. You can say I like it. You can say it tastes like vanilla. And I found that was always something whenever I've done tastings, and because I like to encourage conversation about a whiskey. And I want to say to people, what does it taste like? And to hear some people say, I can't do tasting notes. And I just want to, you know, I say to them, any one note is fine. If you tell me it tastes like apples, that's great. If you tell me it tastes like vanilla, that's great. If you write me an essay on how it tastes, you've got a lot of time on your hands, but that's great. It's all worth the same stuff. As long as the whiskey's good, who really cares?
Absolutely, yeah. For what it's worth, this Cologne peated cask is super. If you were lucky enough to grab yourself a bottle, well done, Brendan. It's the best one yet.
I imagine that will be for sale on Celtic Whiskey Shop, but that does actually lead in very neatly to something.
Yeah, it was Irish Malts, I believe. I don't know. I might have been exclusive, maybe not. Probably Celtic as well, though. Yeah.
Well, I think we do have a couple of people watching who have tasted some of your whiskey, but not all of it. But for those people, do you maybe want to tell them where can they buy WD''Connell for Irish, UK, and EU shipping?
Well, irishmalts.com, Celtic Whiskey Shop, James Fox's, El Mulligan Whiskey, our own WD'Connell.com. We can ship to all the same places that all of the above can. And then locally, you've got those shops obviously physically, and then you've got Carry Out in Killarney, 1601 in Kinsale, Bradley's in Cork, the number 21 off license group around Munster area, Nina, Keller's in Nina. I hope I didn't miss out anybody. I'll get shot. I don't have a lot of retailers because we don't have a lot of stock, so we try to keep it as tight as we can. And for any of the bar owners who want it, or restaurateurs or hoteliers, you can get it from JC Kenny Wholesale or Celtic Whiskey Wholesale.
Fantastic.
So yeah. Sorry, in the UK we've got, I have two UK retailers as well. We've got the Independent Spirit shop in Bath, and we've got the Little Whiskey shop just outside of Liverpool there.
Nice. I think I'm going over to Cardiff in 2 weeks or so. So when I do that, I might actually take a train back and head to Bath and check out some of the whiskey shops, because unfortunately, the one time I've been to Bath, I was incredibly hungover and did not enjoy it at all. That was an awful decision. I feel more sorry for my brother. He was worse on that day. That kind of does.
That's happened.
Oh no, this was so. But as I'm sure everyone knows, I'm Australian, and I lived through UK and Ireland for many years now. My brother came over to UK, and he just wanted to go to Bath to see the Roman baths. And we went there, we got there at night, and we got ridiculously drunk. And my brother at that point in time hadn't been drinking for years, just because he focused on working out, and apparently drinking doesn't have protein in it, so you can't have that and work out. And he got up, and the next day we went and saw the Roman baths, and I was feeling pretty bad. And he couldn't actually enter the Roman baths. He spent the entire day in bed. So he went all all that distance just to see the Roman bars and couldn't do a thing about it. So I need to go back and see it again.
You're going to go back and see
Sorry.
wear a GoPro and show him around. That reminds me of a story, something similar. I was coming back from Hong Kong. I think I'm going to say Christmas 2010. I think there was a volcanic eruption in Iceland, and
Yeah.
all the flights were either cancelled or diverted, and I was mid-air in I think I was mid-air and realized I woke up in Athens and not in Heathrow to make my connecting flight. And I was mid-air and we were on the way and everything was fine. I fell asleep, woke up in Athens, and we were told we were pretty much stranded there by British Airways. And instead of going to sea and taking that opportunity to see the fantastic ancient Athens, you know, all the mythology, everything. And I like history a lot and mythology. And I just went out. I met a guy that I know from Hong Kong and went, hey, let's get drunk together. And we ended up going on a 2-day. I was much younger and I didn't have a family at the time, so it's all okay. Drink responsibly. And ended up having a 2-day, and I didn't see anything in Athens. I saw some very seedy nightclubs and the hotel. And then the 3rd day I woke up and I said, I have to get out of here. Because I don't feel like seeing any more of Greece and that I had already seen. And I proceeded to get a flight myself out of Athens and into Birmingham and then back to Cork, and planes, trains and automobiles to get home for Christmas. But I feel your pain, is all I can say.
I don't like
Or your brother's pain.
It's kind of... he will never watch this because he doesn't enjoy whiskey at all, particularly because of that night. But I am very sorry to him. But it's kind of weird how, whenever I find that I do that because you're a big fan of history. I quite like history as well, and I find that whenever I go to, a historical place or a new town and there's everything around me, my first thought is, oh, this looks beautiful. It would be better if I was having a beer or a whiskey and I could look at it through the lens of a glass. So I find a pub and then I just stay in that pub. And I'm not sure what that says about me, but I'm sure this is turning into a therapy session here. Let's move away from that.
I am not your friend when it comes to therapy, definitely. You leave more confused. What are you drinking, by the way?
I poured myself a large glass of Tipperary, the Watershed, because I love the stuff that Tipperary does. I think what Jen's doing is fantastic. They have amazing products, and they've really, there's all of Irish whiskey is brilliant, I think, and you've got the old world and the old world and new world of Irish whiskey. But there are standouts. Tipperary is one of those standouts. Brendan is one of those standouts. Louise from JJ Corrie, yourself. These are just standout brands that every time I try them, I think this. I don't know why I don't hear more people talking about this, because they're fantastic. They always suit the moment, and I've never had any one of their whiskies or your whiskies and thought, this isn't what I wanted. It's always, it hits the spot. Yeah.
I think they released a whole batch of cast strength Tipperary actually last week. So
Yeah.
5 releases
last week.
Yeah.
5 releases, and yeah, they had a rum cask, Madeira cask. I think there was a Rioja, maybe another Rioja, some wine cask, but a huge amount. Yeah, and I guess that brings me really neatly onto one of my favorite questions. Is there anything in your warehouse, are there any casks that firstly are your favorites, secondly, are there any casks that you don't want to sell because you want to keep it all to yourself? You know, Dathy's personal cask of whiskey.
There's no personal cask of whiskey. I need to feed a family, so everything is for sale. Are there favorites? Yes. I was just this week actually. Look, I'm very new on this journey, so I'm learning as I go. And when we took, let's say, take the 17-year-old single malt, that was the first time I had recast anything. So I took that batch of whiskey and recast into several PX casks that we had sourced. And I didn't know how that was going to turn out. I was pretty sure it was going to be okay, but I didn't know what to expect time-wise. I didn't know how it was going to impart its flavors, you know, what it was going to do. Were all the casks going to be the same? And 3 months in, I just took my first samples back out of them, and I noticed that all of them have I keep notes on them in a log, and they all had different aspects to them immediately. Because originally they come from the same vatting. So it was one whiskey that went in to, say, 5 casks. And all those 5 casks now had different personalities after 3 months. And, you know, after 6 months, then I picked a cask, and I had 2 of them. Out of the 5, I had 2 I wanted to. I was going to bottle, and I decided to go with cask number 4, I think, not 3, cask ending 3, if we say, and because the 5 I felt was the better cask, but I wanted to take a risk and see could it get even better, and you know, I didn't know what was going to happen with that. But the other one we cast was the one we bottled was the 17-year-old that you have now, and that's a fantastic whiskey. Like, I don't think you would fault it. It might be. I'm sure somebody can fault it, but you know, I'd find it very difficult to. We give most whiskies a good run for its money, and the one I didn't bottle, I was just tasting yesterday for work. It's tough, I know, middle of the day, tasting from some samples, and it's head and shoulders above the others. So it's like, I don't want to lose it, but I think it's going to have to be shown to the world, because I think it has everything. And you know, it could, I'm hearing it could go past that. It could, you know, it can lose that. So I obviously haven't experienced that yet, so I don't want to risk it. And then obviously I've got some other styles of whiskey that that I haven't had any part of casking. I haven't selected the cat. I just bought them as is, you know, and I'm interested to do some new things with them now. That's the next step in on the journey. And the plan then from pretty much late this year, early next year, is to start laying down a lot more new spirit into casks that I have sourced from relationships that I have made around Europe and the States, so that it's more unique, it's more personal, it's more limited, and it should then give us our distinctive flavor profiles that we get, that will become hopefully synonymous with the O'Connell range of whiskies, you know. But yeah, to answer your question, yes, absolutely favorite. This is like a third child, one of them, and it's pretty special. I look, I'm sure there'll be more. I'm sure that's the exciting part of the business, is doing that. Not writing business plans or getting money or trying to do invoicing or select labels or bottles or all that is shit. It's getting to interact with the casks and the whiskey and being excited about where, like, I'm thinking of 5 releases down the line. I haven't even, you know, I'm thinking that far ahead, and it just makes me like a child at Christmas thinking about what we can do. And we don't know how it's going to turn out either, but we got to kind of hope it works out well.
Yeah, nice one. No, I love that. I guess as well, something you mentioned there, would you be aiming to in the future be purchasing solely or almost solely new make spirits, new make spirit, and maturing it yourself. So you're using another person's liquid, but the care for the growth of it, so to speak, is all yours. Is that something you do, or do you want to keep, be open to, if I see a bottle of 5-year-old I think is spectacular, a barrel of 5-year-old, I'll pick that up?
No, I'll certainly be open to acquiring, like, if something ridiculous comes available or something that you come across is available, absolutely. I'm not gonna cut my nose off on that one. But the overriding plan is to lay down new make spirit in selected casks from particular styles that we want, and not just bulk buying casks on open market, empty casks like it's, oh, I better charge my laptop. It's that is the plan ultimately, that the majority, let's say the vast majority, but obviously if age statement whiskies come available, and they're of interest and we can buy them, we'll absolutely do that. Yeah. Give me 1 second.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, you go if you like. While you're doing that, I'll just sit here and enjoy my time. Oh, you're back. Okay. What a
I'm semi back. You can look at the top of my head for a second.
We can admire your fantastic whiskey selection behind you, which honestly is bloody fantastic. That selection gives me a lot of joy and happiness. I can't really tell you why. It just makes me happy.
That's the alcohol hitting your system. Everything makes you happy at this stage.
I've not had nearly enough alcohol yet for that to occur.
Probably good to go. Yeah.
Takes a while nowadays. So I guess with that,
I need a top up, so if you want to roll the dice again.
Oh yeah, I'll re-roll the dice. And we also have another question that's coming. So I'll re-roll this first, and that was another 3. So I'm going to re-roll. Okay, that's a different number. That is the Glenfarclas 12.
Oh, lovely. That's a fresh open.
That was a fun bit. I mean, I do love Glenfarclas.
One of my favorites. And actually, only introduced to me from by Mary in Mulligan Whiskey. Actually, she really, I had tasted it before, but she really reignited my interest in it. And Colm in Celtic Whiskey sold me this then as well. So I went in to say hello and try and make sales myself, and I ended up leaving with bottles of whiskey. So,
I mean, can you organize it? Can you organize a trade type thing where you trade in some of your bottles for? No, you've got to make money. I don't understand business.
Money, yeah, can't be drinking my own supply either. So yeah, this is a 12-year-old, 43%. The 105 is probably the one I'd normally drink. So this is a nice.
I was going to say, well, the 105 is consistently on my top 5 whiskey list. It's never number 1, 2, or 3, but it's always in the top 5, just because it is such a good whiskey, and it's easily available, it's cheap, it tastes good, it's everything you want in a whiskey.
Absolutely ticks all the boxes. Good value. Like, you need to have whiskey in your house if you're a whiskey drinker, that you can just freely pour and not worry about, am I going to be able to get another bottle of this? Can I afford another bottle of this? And that's the key. That should be the mainstay of your whiskey. If you're not a collector, or if you're a collector and a drinker, if you're a drinker, you should absolutely be having whiskeys that are not going to break the bank, that you don't feel guilty or feel you need to have a special occasion to open. That's how I do it anyway. So I generally have a bottle of Powers, 105, Blackbush, they'd be my ones that I would have regularly.
And if you were to do your top 5 whiskies from around the world,
Oh,
what would your list look like?
how can you do that? That's impossible. Absolutely. Anybody who can say my favorite whiskies, I don't know. Because sometimes you got to taste whiskies that are ridiculous that you might never, and you don't know if it's down because you know it's a €2,000 bottle of whiskey. Maybe that's impacting your decision making on how amazing this whiskey actually tastes. And maybe if you blind tasted it and didn't know the price, you mightn't be as impressed. So I just find it it's just a bit hard. I'll take a stab at it though. Just to.
Yeah, go for your life.
So I'll go with 105 in no particular order now. Okay, these are just top 5. There's no 5 down to 1 or anything. I'll go Redbreast Lustau. Oh no, or will I go with the Green Spot Chateau Leville? I'll go with the Green Spot Chateau Leville Barton.
Yeah.
Instead of the Lustau. I'll go with. This is tough. It's very tough.
I put the difficult questions on this channel. Okay, this is serious.
Yeah, it's hard actually. I like Nika from the barrel. I'm not picking anything that's going to be just ridiculous that you'll never see again. Am I allowed to pick any of my own?
Yeah, sure.
No, I'm not. I'm only kidding. God, Middleton Rare, I suppose. Give IDL their a go there. That's pretty good.
They don't sponsor this show. No one sponsors this show. You don't have to say any names.
No, I'm not. I actually do. I do like it. And Balvenie 16.
Balvenie 16. All right, I can get all of them aside from the Balvenie 16 and the Nicker from the Barrel. Balvenie 16 to me is meh. Nicker from the Barrel, and I hate to say it, Nicker from the Barrel has got to be one of my most hated whiskies.
Really?
I never got on the hype train for Nicker on the Barrel, and I never really liked Japanese whiskey. It never really clicked with me.
Yeah.
And Nicker from the Barrel was always that one to me that was just every time I tasted it, I always went, this is just so disappointing. And that was yeah. But this is the thing about whiskey drinkers, where everyone is going to have a different list. To anyone who's watching, feel free to comment your list of your top 5 whiskeys.
Yeah.
Do you know the most interesting?
Yeah. I find that interesting. Like, look, I get where you're coming from, but it's funny. Like, some of the whiskies I see people drinking that they talk about, I think are so overrated. I can't say there's not too many. There's one in particular. It's an 18-year-old version of an Irish whiskey, and it's diabolical. And people talk about it like it's this mythical god. I just think it's awful.
You know, I
actually drank it. I just had to finish the bottle. I certainly will not give it away, or I won't throw it out. And the bottle was open, and it was annoying me to see it. And because I had 2 of them, and I actually gave one away as a gift, and the person was absolutely thrilled, but I couldn't wait to see the back of it. And I had another bottle open, and the cork broke off on me as well, which is really annoying. And I just drank it with ice, and essentially, if I'm drinking whiskey with ice, it's just I don't care.
It was an 18-year-old Irish whiskey. I mean, I will be able to find it, but at this point in time, my mind is too full of other whiskeys to know what that is.
I'm sure I can. I'm pretty sure I can taste caramel coloring from. I know people say you can't taste it, but it has been proven that some palates can taste E150, and that's all I get, this awful flavor of caramel, off the caramel coloring on it.
Oh, I think oh,
It's not that difficult, but anyway. Let's move on.
I think I know what it is, but I'm not going to say, because one, I'll be slagging someone off directly, and two, if I get it wrong, I'll look like a tit. But I like that. I mean, I think there are definitely brands out there that are overrated.
I'm sure there are plenty of people who probably think Bill Phil is overrated or whatever. So it's just, but it is amazing how you put something in a bottle, has a brand on it, instantly it clouds the judgment. No matter what comes out of that bottle, it clouds the judgment. I think we're seeing it a lot. Amazing marketing is all I can say. Hats off to them.
I think. Oh, God, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I don't know why it took me so long. I know exactly the one that you were describing. I don't like that whiskey you were describing. I do not like that whiskey at all. I think that and pretty much the entire range from that distillery is overrated. I think they have some certain whiskeys that stand out.
Yeah, they have some excellent whiskeys now, let's be fair.
But they have some excellent whiskeys, but with a range that big, the average falls below the average. Their average of whiskey falls below what I would consider an average of good whiskey. I think they're incredibly overrated, and I think you're completely right. You put one name on a bottle, and it makes all the difference to people. Considering that that's an Irish brand, and we're not going to talk about that because you may have dealings with them in the future. They're never going to watch this, by the way. Don't worry. What do you think about that when you see brand loyalists? Now, brand loyalists, there's two types of brand loyalists. There's someone who will drink all whiskey but says this is my favorite and I prefer this. But there's also the brand loyalist who is this is the best whiskey in the world. Anything you say is wrong. How do you feel about people like that who don't want to try other whiskeys?
Look, I'm a bit older and wiser now. It's just, I think you kind of let people do what they want to do. There's no point in trying to force them to do something. And a lot of people just like to sit in their comfort zone in life in general, and whiskey is like that for some people. And gin, tonic, type of ginger ale, type of sparkling water. It's a type of cars, jeans, phones, whatever. It's all the same. It's brand loyalty. That's the best. That's what I know. I don't want to risk it. So if you're not open to risk, if you're risk averse, you find something you like, stick with it. That's what you should do. But if it's amazing the amount of people who just they can't get their head around trying anything different. I recall being a young bartender back in Ireland, when imagine we probably only had two vodkas, Hussar and Smirnoff. We had two vodkas, and we had.
Oh, I thought you meant two Irish vodkas.
No, we didn't have that. Baru vodka at the time hadn't come along, or any of the other vodkas since, and it was amazing. If you had Hussar, I'm not sure if Hussar even exists anymore. I couldn't tell you.
How are you spelling it?
Huzzar. And Smirnoff, and they were the two Russian vodkas, and if you give somebody who drinks Smirnoff a Hussar and didn't, and if you gave them the wrong tonic water, give them instead of a Schweppes, you give them a club or something, there'd be a riot. They'd go crazy with you, like you were after maybe insulting their firstborn or something. And it's just incredible to think it back to that time. And now people are drinking goldfish bowls of gin, and specifying, and which is fantastic, by the way, specifying what they want. They're not just going and saying, give me a vodka and Coke. Now, some people still are, obviously, but now people want something specifically, which is great, and that's what you should have, variety and choice. All the beers on the fridge, in the fridges have changed. The draft beer has changed. Still, we need to start supporting more local, though. We need to start supporting our small local microbreweries as much as our micro distillers, and using their products, and that's down to the publicans too. And I think they have an opportunity now, when they reopen, to rebrand and re-image the Irish bar, and not just be pumping out full craft beer and the usual stuff. There is a place for it, and it's great product, by the way. Like, I love a good pint of stout, but I'm open to trying things, and people should be open to trying things. And if you're in the local area on holidays or whatever it is in your staycations this year, try the local brew or the local gin, and you're supporting actual people who live in that area, and not shareholders or from multinationals. There might be shareholders obviously attached to them, but they're not PLCs, or they're not multinationals, and that's what you should be doing when you can. At least try it. Like, it mightn't be for you, but try it. You'd be surprised.
No, I think that's a great idea. I mean, if you walk into the off license and you see the beer that you always drink, or the whiskey that you always drink, but if there's a bottle of beer that's €1 more per bottle, and it's craft or independent, and then you see a bottle of whiskey and maybe it's €10 more per bottle, but it's craft, it's independent, I think go for the small guy. Give them that. At least give them the chance to change your mind, because that €1 or €10 isn't going to break the bank anytime soon for you, but it could mean all the difference for those guys. And having the smaller guy does encourage people to try new things, and it encourages diversity, and it lets businesses and industries flourish. So definitely, yeah, I say go for the small guy, support small business, support local, and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, listen, don't, like, you can, there's room for everybody, but I've made it very much my business to buy new releases from all around the country, and I've really stopped buying stuff from multinationals, obviously, and then I have Glenfarclas and Mitchers and stuff, but generally I've cut back way back. And the beer that I buy I've stopped buying as well. I'm trying to buy craft whenever I can. Sometimes you just need something simple in the house for somebody, a lager or something that might be available in your convenience store. But it's pretty easy adjustment to make. Like, it's amazing. I think that I know I'm not a brewer or anything, but I think I think there's a microbrewery in every county in Ireland, if not several in some of them, and I still think they only take something like 4% of the market share, and they employ 90% of the people in this industry. Isn't that just something wrong there?
I mean, I would say you're right on all three counts, and that is something wrong. You want to be supporting. So some people who are watching this, you may have gone to high school with some of the guys who are now working in these breweries and distilleries. Surely you want to be supporting those guys, as opposed to supporting, a brewery that flicks a switch remotely and makes a couple of 100,000 litres of beer. Support the smaller guy.
And it's not an anti. They make good product as well, and it's not anti. I wouldn't say any of us are being anti corporation or multinational or whatever way you want to call it, but or big business. But I think there's, if you can, it makes a huge difference. If you just make that small change, and hopefully people will do that when it comes to whiskey as well over time.
Well, I mean,
it'd be good to
Dennis
see.
has actually just chimed in with a great little comment, by the way. Love you, Dennis.
It's just Dennis. He
said we get,
is it?
No, Dennis, there's other people on here, but they appear to just be doing thumbs up. Dennis has said, I get your point on buy and support local, but most multinationals start out that way. And Dennis, you are right. A lot of multinationals did start out in the vein of they were small businesses. One of the largest whiskey brands in the world, Johnny Walker, was a grocer, and he just started blending whiskeys. But I think at this point in time, those multinationals do have a huge business. They have a huge cut of the market share. And us giving that the small guys, the local guys, the support, I think they get a lot more from it. And also, I think another thing is with the local guys, I do believe that the profits will be more evenly shared amongst the workers than as opposed to the multinationals.
Absolutely, yes.
That's, I mean, I would like to think that I want to support everyone, but especially people who, I don't want to have my money, I don't want to have 90% of my money go to one person at the top. Hashtag cancel Amazon. Don't know if that's a thing. But I do think I'd rather my money go to a small local shop where I can see the money being shared evenly, or rather evenly, as opposed to buying something that's a multinational and most of that profit goes towards someone on the top who's not really doing anything, got there by nepotism, probably doesn't deserve the role they have, never worked a day in their life. And if those small local businesses turn into the multinationals, then I think simply we change our drinking habits once again. But the great thing is we're always discovering things that are new. We're always having something different.
Yes. And not just, I shouldn't just talk about alcohol, by the way, and I'm sure we're not. The same, it goes right the way down, whether it's your local butcher, your local bottle shop. Sorry, I still say bottle shop for my time in Australia. Your local off license, if you go down to your independent and support them, you're supporting their family and you're supporting the local butcher and the local shopkeeper. And what you can, we should be trying to go back to as much local as possible. I know we kind of went away from that, obviously, for a long time. Ireland has changed a lot since I was a small fella, and it was really interesting to see it, how the death of rural Ireland happened. And it'd be great to see some of those. They all can come back. It's impossible, just the way it is. But certainly some of the small villages could, and the smaller towns could come back to life. And if people started just think, I know it can sometimes seem like it's more expensive, but the long-term benefits to where that money is going will benefit you in the long run as well. Because if your community is better off,
oh yeah,
your whole life is going to be better off. I know we sound very hippie and communist, but it's true. It's just the way it is.
I mean, I've been reading a lot about communism over the past decade, and I
just doesn't work.
No. Communism works on paper. Introducing people to communism fucks it up completely. It's that old adage of democracy is the least worst thing we've not found. That's going to get into politics, and I've not had enough to drink for that. Ideological discussions, damn.
It's hard.
I will point out one more thing. I will point out one more thing regarding Dennis. Yes, Dennis, you are one of the small independents, and we would much rather support you as opposed to supporting a large conglomerate. That tends to be that. So we've covered all of the in-depth, harsh stuff. Now is the time to get on to the serious fun with the famous quiz questions and anagram round.
Oh God.
For those who don't know, when I first told Daithi I will be doing a quiz question round, he said, don't put anything about sailing. My reaction to that was to search everything I could about sailing.
I knew it.
No. And then I read it and I realized, I don't know what any of this fucking means because I know nothing about boats. I know Cuddy Sark. I know Old Pulteney with the skipper, and that's it. And then I started reading about boats, and my mind just started thinking about whiskey, and I couldn't do it. I even though I knew it would put you in a bind, I couldn't do any questions about sailing. So I have some general questions about Irish whiskey.
This is like
All
the
right.
moment where you're on the you're driving in your car. John from Cork has joined on Dermot and Dave, and he's trying to do his questions, and you answer all of them and say, "What an idiot John is! He didn't get 10 out of 10." And now I'm going to be John.
I don't think anyone's going to get 10 out of 10, particularly because there's 9 questions, so that would be impossible. But all right, we'll start. I've got 4 questions and 5 anagrams. So your first question is, what is the relevance of the date 1608 in Irish whiskey?
Bushmills granted its license, allegedly. Am I right or wrong?
The fact that you said allegedly at the end, I'll give you that. Yeah, Bushmills was not granted its license in 1608. Though Bushmill states the date on the bottle, that date refers to when Sir Thomas Phillips was given the right to distill within Coleraine and the Rout.
Okay.
That same license was taken away a dozen years later for favoritism, by the way. Yeah, that's that.
Interesting. So,
yeah.
Well, I didn't know that actually. I knew it was a Bushmills related, but I didn't quite know.
Hey, currently you are 1 for 1.
Thank you. You're very generous.
If we stopped the quiz here, you'd be ranked number 1 of everyone who's done the quiz.
Oh, I actually have to go. There's an emergency.
Oh, okay. All right. Question number 2. What happened what is the relevance of the date 1784 in Irish whiskey?
1784.
I can give you a clue if you want.
Is it something to do with Kilbeggan? Fire in Dublin? Or else I don't know.
It's Bushmills was officially registered as a distillery in 1784.
Okay.
That was the date, yeah.
Bushmills knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just fascinating. I think that's because I always used to see 1608 on Bushmills bottles and think, is that when they became a distillery? And then it's simply, it doesn't really have anything to do with them. It's a very vague. It's a long walk to join right to distill within a certain area to founding a Bushmills distillery. That's
the victor's right to history.
yeah.
Oh well,
we did that.
There goes my perfect record. Thanks very much.
Yeah. Don't worry, I'm sure you'll get the rest of them.
Oh,
so, which famous Scottish lawyer started a distillery in Dublin in 1780?
That'd be John Jameson.
John Jameson, yeah. John Jameson started Jameson Distillery in 1780. Yeah. And your final quiz question is, what is Jameson's connection to Hague? Specifically, what is John Jameson's connection to the Hague family?
Uh, son-in-law.
Fucking A, yeah. Yeah. John Jameson married Margaret Haig, the eldest daughter of John Haig, prior to starting the Jameson Distillery. I think that was 1774, 78 or so. But yeah, all I can think about now is
Halfway
David
through,
Beckham
I'm
doing
going.
Haig tasting and doing that taste, doing that victory fact.
I'm going to need another whiskey now. I think after that excitement.
You
Well,
are going to another whiskey.
I have
Should
the
I
opportunity.
roll the dice?
Because once this chat is over, I have to go back to looking after dirty nappies and the like. So
I mean, you can either drink fast or I can talk slower. It's up to you.
this is my relaxation time right here. I am in no rush.
All right. Now I just rolled a 1, which means that you get to pour yourself Baines.
But
For those who don't know Baines is our favorite South African.
yeah,
You say it's empty?
I actually have Baines, but I also have the Three Ships 15 and the Three Ships PX10. So
Oh, yeah.
will we go with Baines? Baines.
That's up to you.
This
Yeah.
this bottle actually got nailed. This is such a great. I feel like I'm doing a review here, but like, what? Unfortunately, this is the 40% version that's bottled in the UK, and not 43% version that we see down in South Africa, and which I would love to get my hands on. I actually left a bottle of it behind. I left two bottles of their products behind on a flight about a year ago while I was over in South Africa, and got the single grain in, and it's super. Really, really good.
It is fantastic. And curiously, that brings me on to my mystery question. You can't lose a point for this. You can only gain a point for it.
Right.
If you, with the exception of, because we know how much you love Baines, and we all love Baines. With the exception of Baines, if you could bottle whiskey from any distillery in the world, what distillery would you choose?
It's an interesting one.
Yeah. That's why I asked it.
Any distillery in the world. I don't know. If I pick something Irish, it's kind of too. I don't know. Probably not going to be Irish. Probably going to upset some people here. I'm already. We only have about 2 viewers anyway, so I think. Do you know what'd be cool? A Macallan would be pretty cool. Just for cool, cool factor. Like there's probably there are some better distilleries, but from a cool factor, that would be it. I could pick loads of them that I'd love to bottle from, but if I had to pick just one, yeah, I think it'd be pretty epic.
I could see that. I would love to see WD'Connell presents Macallan. Like, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
What would you pick?
Belgrove from Australia.
Very nationalistic of you. Very Australian of you.
No, I mean, it is very nationalistic and Australian of me, but at the same time,
Making me look bad now. Thanks.
no.
You could have picked a Kiwi,
Um,
Cardona or something like that. Come on.
no. I love Cadrona, but Peter Bignell from Belgrove is just fantastic. I would either go for that or, failing that, I would bottle some Cairo from Finland.
That's out there.
Oh, but it's so good. It's so incredibly good.
But there's so many of those fantastic distilleries that nobody has heard of, really. A bit like, they probably think about ours as being the same, but some of our distilleries and some of our brands, but some of the world whiskies that are out there are so good. Like, there's 200 distilleries in Germany. 200.
Oh, there's more than that.
Is there?
Germany's got over 300. Still, yeah. So I found this out the other day. So Germany has about 30 working malt distilleries that only distill malt whiskey. They've got about 30 grain distilleries. They have a lot of breweries that also have stills on site. They don't count as distilleries, they count as breweries with stills that can distill.
Okay.
They've got places that do liqueurs that could distill whiskey. They've got places that do spirits that can do whiskey. All in all, about I think it's about 320 sites in Germany distill whiskey.
Yeah.
It's a huge amount. You've got that in Australia. So Germany has the most in the world. Then it's America and Australia kind of vying for second place. Then there's Scotland. Then there's India. I think France is next.
Yeah.
And that France has about 100 different distilleries. Then you move into
Canada,
Japan.
yeah.
I think I mentioned India already. But you've got so many things around the world. There's thousands of distilleries that produce whiskey in the world. It's a ridiculously high amount. People just don't know about them,
No.
And it's disappointing.
I'm a fantastic single malt there from Italy. It's it.
We spoke about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it, but the thing is, for the last 10 years, I've been trying to find whiskies from really weird places. And that's the reason I know it. But if I say to anyone, do you know the Italian whiskey? They'll say, no one in Italy makes whiskey. Same reason when I say, when I ask the question of people, for example, how many countries in the world do you think distill whiskey as what we would define as whiskey? Malted barley distilled for and aged for at least 3 years.
Is that a question for me? Sorry, I have no idea.
No, that is definitely that's a question. Yeah.
No idea.
So last count is around 67 countries in the world.
Interesting. I should get that knowledge. I like to know those little tidbits. On that, actually, I was in Cognac at the start of the year, just before COVID happened. It was starting to happen in China, and we were kind of keeping an eye that it was over for a week, and I was touring around and visiting some potential partners, and one of them is a very well-known cognac distiller, and he is actively looking at distilling whiskey in his off season and his downtime. And there'll be no doubt he will be very good at it. I can guarantee you that. the attention to detail, the love and care these guys put into what they're doing is ridiculous, and their stills would make for very interesting flavor profiles.
This is my problem with the French making whiskey. I don't want cognac producers to start making blended whiskey. Not because I don't think they'd be any good. I think they'd be fantastic, because cognac, as you would know, cognac is all about blending to make the perfect spirit.
Yeah.
And it's centuries of blending heritage go into every single bottle. And it's just, if you give a cognac, a master cognac blender, if they were to start into whiskey, they would have such a leg over everyone else, such an advantage, because for 600 years they've been blending cognac, and they've been blending amazing cognac. So if they were to move into whiskey blending, my fear is that they could just make the best whiskey in the world. On the same token, they are governed by the laws of cognac and the kind of agreements and formal agreements of cognac, which would change things.
Yeah. But
when were you in cognac, by the way? You said this.
When was I there?
Say it again.
I was there at the end of January, start of February.
I was in cognac in about week 3 of January into week 4.
I don't know, if you check out our Instagram page, @O'Connell Whiskey, you'll be able to see our story from there. But it was a really great trip, though. And the people is what made it. It was great to see that, actually, that region. Cognac, for anyone who doesn't know, cognac, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, with your connections, you know a lot more about it than I do. They're probably do about 16 million cases globally a year, which would be, 25% more than what we do, or 30% more what we do at the moment, and have consistently done that for this tiny little this small region of France. And they only produce over a certain time every year. I think it's a small window, maybe 5-6 months, and then they have to stop. And it has to be direct fire. And it's a whole industry in that area, and everybody is involved. The small farmer, that's what they are, farmers, and they're either small or big, and that's essentially it. And they produce these fantastic varieties of cognac. And you go into meet them. They're so giving with their time and so generous and friendly. Nothing what your stereotypical notion of a French person is, really, which is always wrong, in my opinion. Anyhow, it's very, it's always rubbish. But particularly in this area, and going into, I went to visit a cork manufacturer, a top manufacturer, who makes them for IDL, Pernod Ricard, Hennessy, like you name it, they make it for them, and they gave me as much time as I wanted. They treated me like I was and I said to them, I'd probably want a box of corks off you this year. And they were just so generous and warm and welcoming, and to get to see the guy who takes the wood from the forest and split it, and how he splits it by hand. So in his, everything is the passion, the craft. Craft is a word that is completely abused, and to see them at their craft, and then go to visit a family cooperage, 5 generations, 6 generations, go visit a wine grower who's 6 generations, a cognac distiller 6 generations, like, it's incredible. And there's just no airs and graces or anything. It's just really, really highly recommended. Obviously, Ireland is fantastic to holiday in too, but it's always nice to see how the other parts of the world operate. And we have such a close connection with the cognac region in Ireland, and Medoc, and and Bordeaux, and there's a big Irish connection there, and it's and at one time most of our casks would have come from that region. They didn't come from the US, so it's really good for me. It was really important to get to meet the people and know the people there and see how they work and operate, and I'd highly recommend it. And hopefully you'll get to see that in what we do. We try and pass that on and involve them as part of our story as well.
No, I think you're right there. And with what you said about cognac produces that amount of cognac. Cognac is a tiny region. Cognac would be the size of Ulster, maybe.
It's like what? It's probably a quarter the size of Ireland. Let's just say.
Yeah, it's tiny, and it can only produce within a set time of year. Within that time area, it's huge. It's massive, and the Irish have strong ties with France and with that specific region of France in a very weird way. And I would love to see more cognac cask finished or matured whiskey.
I lost you a bit.
Anyway. Oh, apologies for that. We are on to the famed anagram round. Are you ready for some anagram?
I am. Sorry, I was just saying to my missus downstairs, if don't put on Netflix just in case it's affecting the stream.
I'll be completely honest. I'm pretty sure your stream is fine. It's my stream that's piss poor.
All right, okay.
But your first anagram, and I will point out, I have a theme. You should be familiar with this theme within the first anagram. But I'll tell you now, all of these are peated Irish whiskies. Pick this one for you.
Okay. Jeez, if I don't get this.
All right. Your first anagram is mean acorn.
Mean acorn. Connemara.
Connemara it is. Connemara, otherwise known as mean acorn. Repeated Irish. I like Connemara as a whiskey, but I'm not a fan of it as a I'm not a very peat fan, so that's what I look for. And Christ in a cartoon, I have lost my there it is. Thought I lost my pen. Okay. And this is going to look weird, but your second anagram is Gentile.
Peated Irish.
I believe this is correct in two ways.
Gentile.
Mm-hmm. They have produced an Irish, a peated whiskey, and they are Irish.
Peated Irish whiskey, and it's Irish. This is it's obviously massively obvious, and I just don't see it. I know you're trying to help me here. Gentile. Gentile.
There's two E's. To anyone who is watching, if you would like to comment, if you know what Irish distillery that has produced peated whiskey and is an anagram of Gentile is, by all means comment.
I won't see it anyway, but two E's. Irish distillery that has produced. Where did G at?
Yep,
Nah.
two E's. The two E's follow each other.
Oh,
It's a double E.
so obvious. Sorry, Teeling. Jesus, I'm so.
Teeling. Yeah. As
Yeah.
we mentioned earlier, Teeling have produced.
I wasn't thinking about that, but yes.
Oh, come on. You mentioned them earlier in the show. You mentioned Teeling.
Erroneous.
Oh,
Yeah. No, that was. I feel like such a tit there, but yes, I got there.
all right. This one. Now I'll give you a clue right off the bat. This is not a distillery. This is a brand. And this brand of Irish whiskey is El Soc. Or Lissoc, if you want to be French.
Les Soc.
Les Soc.
An Irish brand.
An Irish brand of peated whiskey. This whiskey is very lightly peated.
Lightly peated, as in it's a blend?
It is a blend, yes.
Or it's a cask finish?
No. This is a blend. This is not a cask finish. It's very cheap.
My God, I'm really struggling here.
Dennis is correct. That is, sorry, one of the viewers has commented.
Hello. See, did Locks do Peter?
Yeah, no. Yes! Yes!
I had no idea.
Sorry, I got too excited.
I actually had no idea they did. So there you go. I'm not an oracle on all things peated. I'm definitely not. I'm not an oracle on anything really.
Yeah,
but.
I mean, but the other, I try to theme the anagrams. Other Irish independent bottlers didn't really work, and I couldn't make anagrams out of a lot of them. So I had to go with this.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I haven't tried it. Have you? Is it available still?
Yeah, Locks is still available. You can still get it in some places. It's cheap. Locks is a great whiskey, but it's something like it's one cask in, I think, 8 is peated Connemara.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
but honestly, it's a
favorite, obviously. I actually didn't know that. Yeah. So I must get my hands on the bottle.
All right. So let's just scrub that. Now, this is going to be the most difficult one. So I'm going to give you a few clues. The anagram for this peated Irish whiskey from a brand, not a distillery, is Wino Shine.
Wino Shine.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is a blend. It is. This blend has been discontinued.
Oh mate, you really stumped me. I wait. Can I have the sailing ones instead?
Um.
I'd be less
All right.
embarrassed.
It starts with an I.
In a
It's
show.
from. Yeah, it is showing.
Yeah, it's amazing. You gave me the eye. I was able to put the words together immediately, the letters together.
That one.
You're very generous with your help there.
That one was unfair. In a showing, I doubt the most avid Irish whiskey fans would remember In a Showing.
Again, I didn't know there was a hint
So
of peat in it. I assume it's a hint of peat, and not a.
it's a small amount of peat, but there was some peated whiskey in the blend. Yeah. Now, you have one more anagram. And your anagram is Olden Clown.
Just double check before I. I assume that's me.
What is it?
Clown being the operative word. WD'Connell.
WD'Connell is correct. I'm sorry, it was the only anagram I could make from
Very hard.
from your. No.
Have you been
looked at it.
talking to some people I know?
Hey, I looked at it and I saw the word clown, and then I saw the word Olden, and then I thought, hey, now I cannot make any of that anagram because that's the best anagram.
That opportunity pass. You had your doubt not pass moment.
Now, given your love of a certain South African named Andy, I think you'll be pleased to know that Andy took about 2 minutes
I watched, and I went, God, I hope that's never me someday.
Yes.
So at least if
I had to tell Andy, this is, you live there before he got.
There's no shame in that, if you're listening, it's just part in life, as you get on into your wilder years,
No, we love Andy, and we love you. I love you for coming on the show. So, that's it. I want to say you got 8, 7 out of 9. You got above average there, mate.
I'm gonna take 8 out of 9. Thank you very much.
8 out of 9.
Yeah.
We'll say 8 out of 9. One day I will actually do a leaderboard for this show. I can't tell you when, but one day I'll let you know.
It could be like Top Gear, Remember Top Gear back in the day when it was actually good? And you had the guy, we'd all be coming back on trying to beat the lap time, How drunk can you get, and how many questions can you answer correctly
when I initially pitched the idea for this show to my girlfriend, I said to her, it could be like Top Gear but with whiskey. And she said, that's an awful idea. Don't do it.
Awful idea. I love the way you pitched it to your girlfriend. You should have said, when I pitched this to the producers, this is what happened. And now you have Malts and Mates, and who knows? Maybe you'll be on Amazon this time next year.
I should point out my girlfriend is the executive producer of this show. She's the one who does all the edits. She is much more talented with this than I am. And a lot of other things, let's be honest. She's just much more talented than I am.
I don't know how
Johan.
I don't know how long more we're going to stay on for, but I would like one more roll of that dice, please, before I have to go back to my impending
One
duty.
more roll.
Absolutely, thank you.
All right. All right. Oh, have you already poured Banes? Because I just rolled a 1.
I have
You have? Let's roll again. Ooh, we've not seen. Have we seen?
6.
No. We've not seen a 4 before. Dunville's PX cast strength.
Ooh, very nice.
Ooh.
I'm not familiar with the whole camera positioning. Excuse me. Yeah, PX12 cast strength. 55%. Well, actually, I don't know. Is it 12? No. It is. It is 12-year-old. Single malt cast
Did I
strength.
take?
Say again.
I was going to say, don't worry about not being familiar with the camera because I've been doing this for 3 months now and I still don't know which way to look.
I mean, there. Sorry. This is fantastic. This is known as Omar's blend. Just to Omar, but to the rest of the world, it's Dunville's. It's my last Friday night dram of the night, unless my kids go to bed at a normal time for a change. Limited edition.
For those who are wondering as well, I am drinking Shieldade. It is, and I don't know if you can see this, it is the finest old Speyside whiskey in a plastic bottle.
It sure is.
I bought this from a airport in Brussels.
Because
I'm regretting my decision.
In plastic.
Say again?
You should always store whiskey in plastic. It's definitely the way forward. I might innovate with some plastic casks. See what happens.
In a weird way, my shoulder hurts after having some of this whiskey, and I don't know if that's related to the plastic or what, because not hit my shoulder. I don't know, it's absolutely fine. If you're going through Brussels airport and you want to have if you want to spend €20 on half a litre of whiskey, yeah, Shieldade is fine. To get you drunk on the 40-minute plane between Brussels and UK, that's, yeah.
That reminds me of another travel story. I think we were in Hong Kong and we were going to a stag party in not Koh Samui, Phuket. As you did, living in Hong Kong, it was like going to Liverpool or whatever, you know. It's from Ireland, and we got to the airport anyway, and there was a very limited supply of whiskey in the airport, and it was a Jack Daniel's honey, and that's what we drank shamefully on the flight over, on this one of these cheap flights where you're looking to have a seat, and yeah, a few of us drank this liter bottle of Jack Daniel's honey, which was absolutely awful stuff. But I love Jack Daniel's casks, by the way. They're fantastic. In case anyone from Jack Daniel's is ever, just don't put honey in your Jack Daniel's and it'll be fine.
Daithi, I hate to do this,
I have to
but
go.
I'm gonna. No. I'm gonna beat you on the Jack Daniel's train.
Okay.
Jack Daniel's was the whiskey that I actually started on. The first whiskey I had was not Jack Daniel's, but the first whiskey I drank consistently was Jack Daniel's. And I drank it so much to the point that my local bar ended up, when I went in, would give me the bottle of Jack Daniel's, because I always drank at the bar with my mates, and they would just put the bottle in front of me, and I could pour it myself and at the end of the night, they would measure how much I had drunk and charge me for that.
Yeah, I love it. That's how drinking should be done in locals.
That's,
Uh,
I
Can
mean,
I can
that
I
is
ask,
how
where,
drinking should be done.
absolutely. Where in we used to do that in Hong Kong. We had guys in Hong Kong who had bottles. They came in and they bought a
Oh,
bottle.
no. This wasn't guys who had bottles. This was in Australia. This was immensely illegal,
Oh, it's
but
absolutely
they
illegal.
knew.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's horrifically illegal. But they also knew that I always paid my bill. I only drank Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
that was that.
can I ask what part of Australia you're from, actually, Marcus?
I am. What place I was born or where I grew up? That's a
Where
long
you
story.
where you're born is irrelevant, really. It's where you grew up is.
Victoria, Melbourne.
Ah, yeah. The European side of Australia. So I like to. I think Melbourne's it's a fantastic city, actually. Love it.
I've never heard it described that way, but when some of my mates in Melbourne watch this video, they will never shut the fuck up about how they are the European side of Australia because they think they're classy. And guys, you're not fucking classy.
Well, if you take AFL out of it, it's pretty classy city. just take it. And I have a mate of mine actually called Dom Dunn. He's living in London, the Hound, and if he sees this, I'll get a beating next time. He's
I'm sorry. Did you just say his nickname is the Hound?
yeah, and it was the Hound before Game of Thrones. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay. Nothing about that name sounds European to me, though. That just
Well,
sounds like a big bastard that you know. Insane.
He's actually not that big, but he's a hard man on the pitch. That's for sure. He headed up the AFL in Hong Kong, which is a huge scene, by the way. Amazing. Those guys were full on. I would say almost cult like. Like, they went hard. They partied hard. They used to party in our pub a lot, and. But yeah, I've had some good times in Melbourne. Yeah, I know a couple of guys who own some bars and clubs and stuff there as well. And
well, you lived in Australia, didn't you?
Say again.
You lived in Australia, didn't you?
I did, yeah, twice, and 2 occasions. I lived there in 2002, I believe. Yeah, 2002 World Cup. I was there for that. I think for like 11 months that year, and. Kind of crossover between years, 2002, 2003, and then I moved to Australia in 2009, and I became a permanent resident there. And
congratulations!
I actually did I gave that up since, obviously.
Okay.
But I have a big connection with Australia. I love it. I have a godson living there and family in Sydney. Just loved it. I love the lifestyle it offered. Just too far away. Pity it's not a bit closer, and I'd probably live there.
Oh yeah.
I learned to fly. I got my pilot's license in Queensland, Sunshine Coast, Maroochydore.
I'll be honest. When you say it's a pity it's not closer, or I would live there, I also say the same thing, and I'm fucking Australian. It's so far. Whereabouts in Australia did you live?
So in Sydney, like first time around I lived in Sydney, and I lived in the obvious bit. I lived in Bondi, but I lived in North Bondi, which is a bit classier, obviously.
Yes. Northern. You know how it goes. Yeah.
Like either the Cross or Bondi, that's kind of it, isn't it? And then I lived in Parramatta for a while, actually. Or North Mead. I have family out that way, so yeah, I stayed there for a while. And then I officially lived then up in southeast Queensland in a place called Harvey Bay on the Fraser Coast, also known as Heaven's Waiting Room, I believe. To the
No, I don't know that area. I
yeah,
know Parramatta by the famous joke. Do you know the joke?
possibly, but I'm, enlighten me just in case.
So, um, Parramatta is in physics a reference to a state of matter where you don't know where it is. So, if something is stolen in Sydney, Australia, you can assume it's in Parramatta.
Parramatta, yeah. I believe I've heard something
Yeah.
similar. Yes.
Yeah. Um, do you know the city of Frankston in Melbourne?
I don't. I wouldn't know Melbourne that well. Like I've only been there as a tourist, so I haven't lived there.
So I was born and raised in Frankston, and the fun joke that people call it by the name of Frankanistan. That's the level this place is on. And every time I meet anyone from Australia and I say to them, I'm from Frankston, they say to me, I am sorry. It doesn't matter where they're from. They could be from Melbourne. They could be from Darwin. They might be from Perth, from Cairns, from Brisbane, from anywhere around Australia. They all know Frankston.
Vegas.
See, no, because Frankston has better, more illegal gambling halls than Brisbane has.
That's saying
It's
something.
been called
How about Radelaide?
Frankanistan. Frankanistan was one nickname. Another nickname for it is Franger, which is also a colloquialism for a condom. And the joke is Franger never wears a Franger because Frankston is fucking awful.
Anyhow, yes. So Australia, a lovely country. Melbourne, very
yes.
And lived in the North Bondi, and then moved up to southeast Queensland, and I learned to fly up in Maroochydore. Sunny, that's in the Sunshine Coast. You don't know where that is?
Oh, I know where the Sunshine Coast is. I used to live on the Sunshine Coast. I know where that is. I know where Maroochydore is.
So Maroochydore. So basically, if you go from Maroochydore and you go north for about 3 hours in the car, or about an hour on a Cessna or a Piper, you can land on the Fraser Coast. And there's an island there called Fraser Island.
I know Fraser Island. I know to not go to Fraser Island.
So I lived just off Fraser Island on the mainland. And I used to fly between. I learned to fly there. I was doing my hours to build up to my commercial, which I never finished my commercial, but I did my exams and everything, got my private. And I used to fly up to Bundy or Bundaberg, if anyone who's been backpack or whatever, to rum. And I'd fly
Bundy rum.
Yeah, I'd fly up to Bundy a lot, and I'd fly down to Maroochydore in the Sunny Coast, which is a great area. Sunny Coast is super. Noosa, that area. If you have lots of money, it's excellent. And Australia, what an amazing country to learn to fly around, on your own for a few hours, cross country, go inland into the bush. Amazing to see the difference in the winter after a rainy season and everything, for the trees. There's rivers. Like you're flying 1 month and there's a river, and that's when you're learning to fly. You're flying by sight. It's visual VFR, it's called. So you're not using technology, essentially using your eye and time and a map, right? And measuring speed. And you're going, I should be coming this river now. And during the spring and the winter, you see, lo and behold, there's a river, and you can figure out where you are and you can navigate. And then go do it in the summertime and there's no river. It's just gone. Trees disappeared. I actually was one day, I was looking for a lake, and this lake must have been the size of, I think we estimated about the size of about 50 football fields. So not a huge lake, but big, right? Pretty
It's a
big.
large lake.
It's pretty large, right? So I'm looking for it. I'm flying, and this is my learning curve. My instructor, great guy, and he says, "Off, I'm on my own, like, and I'm in Australia. Like, if anything goes wrong, I'm dead. Like, imagine an Irish guy in the bush, like that would be just show over." So there's no lake. I'm looking at my watch. I'm going, geez, checking my speed, checking my, that working? Yeah. Lake's gone, just disappeared. Like about 50 football fields. So yeah, it's pretty interesting learning to fly over there. That's for sure. Great country, love it, love the lifestyle. People are good fun. Some good drinks, great craft beers and wines, and some good whiskey there too. I think we've lost the host actually.
I mean, there is a bit of good whiskey in Australia.
We've
I
lost.
quite love it. Oh, give me a moment here. Give me a moment.
Don't leave me on my own, please. Well, I'm probably on my own anyway. Is who's still there? Is Dennis even still there? Me, you, and Dennis hanging out, getting drunk. I think we've lost the host. Don't know where he's gone. Thanks, Marcus. I'm going to check something else out. What do I do? Do I stay on or do I just leave? Any advice?
Have I got you back? Can you see me now?
Yeah, I've been here the whole time. I was literally talking to myself, I believe, and I was asking myself, will I stay on or will I just leave now? Because I think it's just you, me, and Dennis might even be gone at this stage. So
I've no idea because I can't see the viewers from Facebook because this streams to multiple platforms. I can only see the viewers from Twitter, not from Facebook. And unfortunately, Facebook can't comment live. Only Twitter can. I don't know why. I do not know why. I'm sure there's a setting I've yet to tick, but Matt from Potstilled, if you're watching, please let me know. But I think we will end it there because I am seeing to have troubles with that. But I do want to say 8 out of 9 for Daithi on the quiz. So that is roughly 90%. I'm just going to call it 90%. 9 out of 10. Sure. Fucking fantastic answers to everything we have. We loved hearing about all your whiskey, everything you've got coming along. Your stuff in regards to Australia, I loved that. That was for me. I loved that. I loved every bit of it. That was amazing. And yeah, about the because I could hear you the entire time while you were talking about flying by lake. That was fantastic. I love the flying by sight stuff. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was good fun, good times there. Hopefully, looking forward to getting down there to that. There's a whiskey show on Sydney, I think in Sydney winter time, June, July. Maybe next year, get down there, catch up with some friends and family, and get into that. Would be good. Good whiskey scene there. Yeah, Australia's a good place. I liked it, and I really enjoyed the chat this evening. Actually, I was absolutely bricking it coming on. I'm not a big video guy, so I hate seeing myself on the camera. It's awful.
Look, we gave you the hard questions starting off, but you recovered and you answered every single question fantastically. And the comments I've been seeing in Twitter and on Facebook, and other people who are tuning in, I don't know how, but they've been tuning in and they've been saying, they're loving it. And I want to point out again what you said earlier: Irish Malts, Celtic Whiskey Shop, James Fox, L Mulligan's. The small guys, support these guys.
Bradley's in Cork,
Purchase a bottle.
1601.
Get the Cork. 1601.
Carry out Killarney. All the love going out there,
All love going out there, as well as WD''Connell's website themselves. Make sure you order yourself a bottle. Get yourself a bottle from one of these guys, preferably WD''Connell, because we know everything is going towards Daithi there, and he can keep making us great whiskey. But dude, it was great to have you on today. Cheers so much for agreeing to it, by the way. I didn't think you would. I never thought you would agree to come on this.
Well, I did have reservations, as you know. But I definitely enjoyed getting inebriated, having a chat on a Friday evening. I'm putting off the inevitable. And Friday Night Dram is starting, and it was such a big part of my life the last couple of years. When I was gearing up for the whiskey, I was really excited to see how the Irish social scene was interacting. And we had our second child 10 weeks ago, and Friday Night Dram has just went gone. I actually tried to stay up late one night to watch something. I think Michael Cowman was on. He was on the Irish Whiskey Barry. He's on every Friday night now. I think he's like the E Street Band on some show. But essentially, I had a sample of a 27 Redbreast that I was given. I definitely don't have a bottle. I don't have that kind of money, and I had it set up, put it down. It was 5 to midnight. About to tune in. I woke up at like almost 2 a.m. I was just that's how exciting my days are these days. Long gone are the globe-trotting days of old. But I really enjoyed it, and I look forward to meeting you in person, actually, Marcus, very much.
Look, at some point in time, I'm going to meet everyone in person. I am currently planning a trip around a dozen English, Scottish, Irish distilleries to meet everyone before I have to go back to Australia and face the fact that I can't leave the country. So I'm trying to stave that off. But I loved having you on, mate. It was amazing. Everything about you is amazing. Everything about your company, your whiskey is amazing. And I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say we only want more for you in the future.
You're too kind. And by the way, mi casa e zu casa. So if you're traveling around Ireland, come by. I'll pull up the pull-out bed, and you can have a bite to eat on the grill and a couple of cold ones, and maybe even a few whiskies.
I was going to say I don't drink beer. I really only do whiskey nowadays.
No problem.
But thank you for that. I'll definitely take you up on it.
More than welcome.
To anyone who's watching, make sure that you check out WD''Connell. Follow WD''Connell Whiskey Merchants on Twitter. Follow O'Connell Daithi on Twitter. Make sure that you're following. Make sure you give these small businesses the boost they deserve.
Much appreciated.
But that is today's Malts with Mates. And thank you so much, Daithi, for coming on today. It's been fantastic having you. I've been Some Whiskey Bloke. This has been Daithi O'Connell. And we loved talking today and talking shit about whiskey. To everyone who's watching live and later on, Sláinte os.
Sláinte.